I would like to start off in chapter 9 of Leviticus. This parsha is Shemini. Shemini means eight or eighth. Shemini is eighth day, and the parsha starts off with that very phrase. I would like to focus on the subject matter of the eighth day connecting the world to Hashem, and what does it mean? It says in chapter 9, verse 1, on the eighth day Moshe summoned Aaron and his sons and the Israelite elders, and he told Aaron, take a calf out of the herd for yourself as a guilt offering and a ram as a burnt offering, unblemished. Offer them before the Lord and speak with the Israelites, saying, take a male goat as a guilt offering, and a calf and a lamb, unblemished yearlings, and as a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for the holy sacrifice, to sacrifice before the Lord, and meal offering that is mixed with oil, because the day of the glory of the Lord is revealed to you. They brought what Moshe ordered to the front of the tent of meeting, and the entire community was brought near, standing before the Lord. Moshe said, this is what the Lord has commanded you to do, so that the glory, or the Shekinah of the Lord, will be revealed to you. Then Moses told Aaron, approach the altar, prepare your guilt and burnt offerings, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and prepare the sacrifice of the people, and make atonement for them as the Lord has commanded. So we're going to stop right there for just a moment. This is the final moves of the high priest and Moshe before the very Shekinah of God rest upon the tabernacle and rest with the people of God. These final offerings were offerings that were guilt offerings. They were meal offerings that were offered, each one of them to rectify the sin of the golden calf. It wasn't because Aaron and his sons were sinners and that they had committed some horrible sin, because if they had, this would not be the remedy. The remedy would be to vex themselves before Hashem. And I don't want to appear to be a broken record, but many people who watch the class, who come from a Christian worldview, still have this idea that the offerings were for sin. And the reason why they believe that is because it says, and this is a sin offering. But it's not the kind of sin offering that the Christian would be thinking that it's for. So just wanted to clarify that. What is so important about the eighth day? Interesting idea. We do know that the number 7 it remains the most significant number in Jewish life, Jewish literature, even within the Zohar concepts of the Sephra, the divine light that comes down has these 7 characteristics, midots, to them. And so tonight I would like to be able to, at some level, first talk about the story of the offerings given in the Shekinah of God coming down and its connection. But I also want to demonstrate how there is an amazing and beautiful connection between the mundane and the spiritual. And the combination of the mundane and the spiritual brings about a renewed era or a renewed time in which Hashem rests with you. For a moment, let's think. What major holidays are involving a 7-day period? You have Pesach and you have Sukkot. Both of them ending with an 8th day that is significant within the celebration. What is the meaning behind the 8th day? The 8th day, if you can kind of, what is the symbol when you take a number 8 and turn it on its side? It's the infinity, right? Why is it infinity? Because it's unbroken, right? So the idea is this, is that the number 8 represents the infinity of Hashem. It represents a time period or a place, not even a time period, a place. Because in Hashem there is no time. He is eternal. So that means that at some level, when the priest went through their 7-day period, 6 days in which they erected the temple and brought it down over and over and over again, While doing this, the people were being told what animals that they needed to gather together for their sacrifices. Everybody laboring hard for 6 days. And on the seventh day, they were told to rest, which is the Shabbat. We know that the Shabbat is very important because that is sort of the culmination of the whole week, right? That is the most important thing. But we cannot forget that after the temple was erected and brought down and brought back up, and on the sixth day, everyone rested. It is on the eighth day that Moshe gave this commandment. Well, we all know there's not 8 days in a week, no more than there are 27 hours in a day. Okay, so what does the eighth day represent, and why did Hashem have Moshe write down, starting the text off, on the eighth day? Why not say on the following day, on Sunday? Why? Because the eighth day represents when you have brought together the mundane, the 6 days a week of hard work, and the seventh day of rest. When you put them together, you produce a new place. You are put into a new place. It's interesting because the seventh day, the seventh day is called Yom Rishon, right? For the seventh day in Hebrew, which means Sunday for us. This Yom Rishon is now the eighth day. Every week it's the eighth day for you. What does the eighth day mean? It means that if you have labored hard in the week, and when we say labor hard, we're not just talking about your creative actions, but it's also your mitzvahs. It's also serving Hashem 6 days a week. You're serving Hashem. And you're doing it with all of your might. You wake up in the morning like a lion to pounce on Hashem's service and to do whatever you have to do to serve Him. You do that, and then properly on the seventh day, when you have had the Shabbat and you've rested from creative labor, you've spent time in meditation and hitbadadut, prayer, you wake up Sunday morning, and Hashem puts you in a different place. Do you understand? And we all know that. We've recognized it. In a few weeks, I will go to New York to speak to a community in the Borough Park, I think, on the subject matter, the world of the Noahide. Yeah, and why 7 is not enough. Right? So, the idea is this. What we have learned, especially those who have come out of Christianity to become B'nai Noach, you quickly realize that 7 is just not enough, right? And what we discover when we begin to study Torah, we begin to live our life taking on the mitzvahs that we're aware of, then all of a sudden we take on the Shabbos, we begin to observe it, to rest, to study. You realize 7 is not enough, that you have to have the 8th day. And each one of us who have done this have entered into a whole nother realm of spirituality and connection to Hashem. To me, I would like to call that an authentic connection to the Creator. I had a conversation with an acquaintance in Jerusalem who has some friends that were raised Christian, but they were Jews. If you understand what I'm saying, they were Jewish of birth. And their parents raised them that way. And he was trying to sort of get them back. And had a good conversation with one of the guys. One of the things that when I left the conversation, I realized, like most people who are in the world of other religions, they're so intertwined in their mundane world that they have no idea that there is an 8th day in which the Shekhinah of God can rest in their life. They have no idea. They're satisfied with their spirituality. You know, everybody has a connection to Hashem. We've said that over and over. As a matter of fact, just about every person has a spiritual connection to Hashem, correct? And regardless of what religion you are, if you have a sincere heart toward Hashem, and you somehow do, even though the things that you do are completely not even Torah-based, you have a spiritual connection to Hashem. The problem is it's not connected through authenticity. Do you think for 1 second that if Aaron and his sons or Moshe would have deviated from this 7-day plan in any way, would the Shekinah of God come? No, it wouldn't have come. They wouldn't have seen the glory of Hashem come and rest upon the place. That is why the absolute meticulous detail went into preparing the Mishkan. Everything from the curtains, the fabrics, the gold, the altars, the menorah, everything had to be done to absolute perfection. The building of the Mishkan, actually putting it together, had to be done perfect. The reason why it had to be done perfect is because all of those are tied to the presence of Hashem resting within the camp. Now, it's very important to know this. By us tying the mundane with the spiritual, that is Shabbos with the work week, you are not pulling it down. I want you to understand. Hashem is giving it as a gift. There's a saying that goes this way, that when you give a gift to someone, it's still considered a sale, or like you sold an item. And how does that come out? The reason why the sages bring that up as a comment is to this very text, is that when you give a gift to someone, you would never give that gift if they didn't want it, or they didn't think it had any value to you. I mean, what would be the point of giving the gift? So at some level, them accepting that gift, it was like it was a contract. You participated in an exchange. What did you get in return for giving a gift? The joy of that person receiving the gift. What Hashem is saying is that though you do not and are not able to command the presence of Hashem in your life, you can't do it. But if you will put all the pieces of the puzzle together, it is guaranteed it will be there. Why? Because Hashem loves us. He wants to engage with us. When we talk about personal prayer, you can't go out and command Hashem to do anything for you. However, if you spend time in personal prayer, Hashem will begin to do amazing things in your life. Absolutely, right. So why does He give you the desires of your heart? Because your desire becomes His desire. Your desire becomes Him. That's why you spend time in prayer and pleading before Hashem. How many times have you went before Hashem and begged Him to open your eyes and give you illumination and wisdom? In my conversation with people who are on the other side, not dead people, okay? Just want to make sure.
Clear that up.
Yeah, it's like, whoo, okay, he's getting into some weird stuff. I'm going to become the Texas medium instead of the Long Island medium or whatever.
Lone Star.
Yeah, Lone Star medium. Yeah, there you go. Lone Star medium. When I speak to people that are not moved by the knowledge of Torah, they're just not moved by it. And you begin to try to have a conversation with them, it's almost as if they're not capable of even comprehending what you're talking about. So it's not that they don't, I don't know if it's because they don't want to, they can't. For some reason, it's closed off to them. Hashem has concealed Himself. I spent my entire life with a very strong desire to connect to Hashem. And every one of you have had that growing up. You've truly loved God with your whole heart. And you did it by the methodology that you were told to do it. And you had a wonderful connection to Hashem. But at some point, until we realize that we're in Egypt, you'll never get out. You'll still be slinging mud and looking up for straw in your life, all the while being content with your spirituality, not realizing that you are missing the very presence of Hashem in your life. And I've struggled with words to try to explain to people what is it, what took place in my life that caused me to make such a radical change from the lifestyle and the place that I was at to Torah Judaism. And it's this. I discovered the 8th day. That's all I can say. I discovered the 8th day. And I believe you can say the very same thing. You've discovered a sanctuary of the presence of Hashem in the physical world. You finally realize, oh my goodness, this is what I've been missing. This has been the missing link that I've always been looking for. And you didn't find the eighth day because you were looking for the eighth day. You found the eighth day because you were looking for Hashem in the physical world. You were trying to connect Hashem and where Hashem is in the physical world. And how did you do it? Through the study of Torah. There's a couple of things that I'd like to bring out from the Rebbe that says, one of the things that we learn about the eighth day is that it also represents a time after the coming Mashiach. The world is to live, or man is to struggle for 6,000 years, and then in the 7,000th year will be the reign of the Mashiach, correct? But there is the period after the reign of the Mashiach, the 1,000-year reign of the Mashiach, which will be the 8,000th year. I don't even think that we can comprehend what that's going to be except through this text. This text helps us to understand that the very presence of Hashem will come and dwell in the physical world. Now, I'm not saying that His presence is not in the physical world, but you will be able to engage it. I love the words that it says here. This is the command of the Lord to you, verse 6, that the glory of the Lord will be revealed to you. In some aspects, those who have engaged in the study of Torah and Torah observance, the glory of Hashem has been revealed to you. But the glory of Hashem that will be revealed to the world at the end of the 7,000-year reign of Mashiach, it would blow our mind right now for us to understand what that means. It is going to be a whole different place. It's not the same kind of place that we have. It's going to be a totally different paradigm. I want to read this from Likkutei Sichos, Volume 3, page 973. The Kali Yakar states by the Torah employs the term the eighth day. For this day is not one of the 7 days of dedication, and indeed represents a totally different plane. For it is this day that God's presence manifested itself in the sanctuary. God's glory was revealed to the people, and a fire came forth from before God. This is when the altar, the offerings were consumed by fire. In resolution, he explains that the day is associated with this number to highlight its uniqueness. For the number 8 is set aside for God, representing a transcendence of the world's natural limits. But this resolution is itself problematic. Since the number 8 reflects such a high level, how can it be associated with the 7 days that preceded it? Calling it the 8th day, somehow connecting the 7th with the 8th, implies that the continuation of it, which implies a continuation of sequence. Thus, the very term used to accentuate the day's uniqueness points to its connection with the previous days. The concept of the 8th day is earning more than you deserve, earning more than you can actually possibly earn. Here's the explanation. The above difficulty can be resolved on the basis of a ruling with regard to monetary law. I gave this example a minute ago, and I'm going to read it out from the actual quote. Giving is a present equal to with a sale, because if the recipient had not generated a satisfaction for the giver, he would not have granted him the gift. Similarly, the concept mentioned previously, the manifestation of God's presence cannot be drawn down by man's service, for it is a transcendent light. Instead, he must be granted, it must be granted as a gift from above. Nevertheless, when does God endow us with such a revelation? When we have created a fit setting for it. I'm sorry, let me read this again. when we have created a fit setting for it, when we have refined and developed our environment and ourselves to the limit of our abilities. Thus, the seventh day of dedication represents man's effort to refine our environment, an objective within man's capacity, and by carrying out this objective, a setting is created for the revelation of the eighth day of the transcendent light. I wanted you to know the source of where I got this idea from, which in some ways inspires me to want to encourage those who will watch this class to sort of elaborate on the idea that there is always something more that we can gain from the Creator of the universe. There is something more to our relationship with Hashem that God is attempting to draw us toward. He is sort of wooing us to a special place where His glory is revealed to us. He wants to do that. But what keeps us from finally getting to a place of ultimate rest in Him and understanding our relationship with Him? It's when we begin to put the finer details of our life together. Today I witnessed an amazing act between four individuals who, in the desire to clean out chametz, cleaned out the most amazing level of chametz in their life. It wasn't about the breadcrumbs. It's not about vacuuming the floors and cleaning out the refrigerators and the cabinets. We're talking about an attention to detail that self-awareness has to come into play to such a level that the very secret dark places of one's midot, character, begins to be searched out before the light of Hashem. And in those moments where no one else is around and no one else can see, you carefully examine those secret places. And you take the brush and the pan and begin to scoop it up and say, Hashem, this has to go. What am I talking about? I'm talking about areas of our life that you haven't paid attention to detail on. It's about assigning everything to its proper place. And when it gets assigned there, begin to go through a systematic order to make sure that it's all in place. It's about examining ourselves in the light of the knowledge of God. You see, we can have the knowledge of God right in front of us, the actual Torah, the Tanakh, and even listen to lectures every week. But if we don't allow that illumination to go to the darkest places of our life, you'll have chametz still there, you'll have detail flaws in your character traits that you don't realize are the very hindrance to the presence of God fully manifesting itself and revealing itself to you. We can get so caught up in our daily life. Why do you think that we have Pesach every year? It's not just about leaving Egypt, it's about redemption. It's about Hashem finally redeeming us and bringing us out of this sort of miry place that we've allowed ourselves to be put in. And Baruch Hashem, the nations are also invited, as those who have left their idolatry, to finally grab a hold of the knowledge of God. What a great opportunity for us to slow down. And though we go through the physical act of cleaning out the chametz in our house, sweeping up and doing the spring cleaning, if you fail this week to search every little place in your soul and your mind and your actions, then you have failed at Pesach. Pesach means nothing to us if we don't do that. Why do I say that? Because Hashem reminds us that it wasn't about the sacrifices. He wanted the people to draw near to Him. It wasn't about the blood. He wanted them to come near in korban. Come to me, come to me. He wanted His beloved to be near Him. He wanted to be near His beloved. But at the same For the same reason, the laws of midot for a woman, for ritual cleansing, I'll think of it in a second. Nida, thank you very much. The laws of Nida is 7 days. There's a 7-day period of purity. A husband cannot come to his wife and be with his wife during that 7 days. It's only after the 7 days of purity can he come and be with his wife. What do you think Hashem is telling you? Do you think that Hashem has provided that law in the Torah for a husband and wife to keep a man and a woman away from each other? No. It's so that man and woman will have a deepening desire for each other in their relationship, but more importantly, it's about them having a revelation of Hashem to say what Hashem is wanting to do is for us, mankind, to have a 7,000-year period of purity in which we order everything, then the presence of God comes in. So Pesach is going to be a very important time for many of us this year. We'll start the 49 days of counting the Omer. Great opportunity to continue that process. But for those of you who have discovered already that there is an amazing divine start of the week on Sunday, when you wake up, you get a new week. It started all over. And that new week, even though it's a brand new week, with a brand new understanding of Hashem, you now have another 6 days to refine, to fine-tune, and then go into rest. And then another 6. We will repeat this cycle over and over. You will repeat it every year, twice a year, during Pesach and Sukkot. Women will do this who are married, that are in the Orthodox community, will do this every 30 days in their life. Why the 7 and then the 8th day? Because Hashem is trying to etch into the spiritual conscious of every person who is connected to Him that is God's desire to give you a great gift. It's His desire to give you a great gift. He wants to do it. What's keeping us from having a more intimate relationship with the Creator of the universe is setting ourselves in order and putting things together. We'll continue on with this. This idea of focusing on this world and not the next. Let me say this. There's a lot of people that are especially right now, who are talking about the end of the world. And if you follow Facebook, it's every kind, blood moons, Gog and Magog, the world's going to come to an end. We're all going to die in a nuclear holocaust, whatever, right? Folks, don't do that. Get your eyes on what's more important. What's more important is our connection to Hashem. So this is what he says. Moreover, when this transcendent revelation is brought about by man's divine service, it does not remain an isolated occurrence, but permeates our environment, showing the imminence of refined spirituality. This concept is underscored by the continuation of the Torah reading, which speaks of the death of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu. The Torah relates that they brought an unauthorized incense offering. As a result, fire came forth from God and consumed them. Many explanations are offered as to why the brothers were punished by death. From a mystical perspective, it says that they died because their souls soared to such heights that they could no longer remain in their bodies. Nevertheless, their conduct is judged unfavorably because their spiritual quest ran contrary to God's intent in creation. The establishment of a dwelling for Himself amidst the day-to-day realities of our existence. Their deaths show that our spiritual quest should not be directed towards the attaining of a lofty rapture, but instead should remain firmly grounded in our actual lives. What are we looking for? We're not looking for cherubims and cherubims to show up in your bedroom on Sunday as Havdalah ends. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for the sound of the shofar and the Mashiach standing on your front porch, right? What are we looking for? is to wake up Sunday morning with the full intent to constantly battle to keep the spiritual or the mundane and the spiritual together, and constantly be putting them together according to the precepts of the Torah law. The theme is also reflected in the conclusion of the Torah reading, which focuses on kosher food. For the establishment of the dietary codes indicated that Judaism's concept of divine service involves living in the world. This is not about escaping from the world. It's about a fusion of the opposites. Let's look at this for a moment. This fusion of transcendence and immanence is also alluded in the name Shemini. Shemini shares a root word meaning oil. Oil has two tendencies. On one hand, it floats above other liquids to the extent that if an impure person touches oil floating on another liquid, the lower liquid is not rendered impure. For the two are not considered to be joined. Oil and water is the example. On the other hand, oil permeates the entities on which it is placed. Therefore, if a non-kosher substance which is fat or oily is roasted together with other food, it makes the entire quantity of food non-kosher. Although ordinary, only the food actually touches the non-kosher substance to be tainted. Similarly, with regard to the subject at hand, the essential light associated with the eighth day transcends the limits of the material realm. Nevertheless, God's intent is not that this light remain in a sublime state, but that it permeates the material world, endowing it with holiness. So what's the purpose of the eighth day? The eighth day is to give us the opportunity to permeate the physical world with the presence of Hashem. I said all that to say that. I could have said that in the beginning. We all could have gone home, right? But see, giving lofty quotes doesn't change our disposition and our heart. What changes the disposition, the heart of mankind is an innate desire to keep those two combined in this world. The world that we're living in right now has become more difficult to keep spirituality connected and keeping kedushim, holiness, the separation from the material world that would taint us. It's very difficult. And the reason why is we're overstimulated with all kinds of negative things. I mentioned this the other day to my eldest son. Have you, like on Facebook, when somebody will post something that clearly it can't be true. Just clearly it can't be true. And you take 2 minutes to verify this, outrageous article that's been posted up. And you find out it's completely debunked, not true. It only takes you a couple of minutes. But how many people will spend a whole day or two ranting and raving, adding their comments, sharing it with their friends, right? Just absolutely consumed with the most asinine stuff that is negative. It's rooted in Lashon Hara, actually, right? Rooted in Lashon Hara. And how easy is it for us to get tied in the same thing? It's so easy for us to do it. Somebody posted something up the other day that I wanted to comment on. And I had to examine myself why I was going to comment on it. Am I going to comment because I actually think that my comment could be useful for the person and help them? Or is it just going to inflame the situation? Because I know where the person's coming from. I decided not to post anything, but the whole point is it's so easy to get just sucked right into that. How much of our time is wasted by that? Now, part of my job in web design stuff is doing social media. And I seriously have to guard my neshama, my eyes, my ears, because it's so easy to get caught up in. And if you don't have to do those kinds of things, then you're not losing anything in your life by not doing it. At the same time, the internet and social media has been a great opportunity for us to share Torah with thousands of people, and it is incredible blessing to do that.
Rob, what if you were just trying to be funny?
Do you remember the phrase that it's not what you say, but it's how it's perceived? I mean, that's my problem. I can be funny, but it's how people will perceive what I'm saying, right? And so my biggest thing is just have to guard myself from being, what's the word, sardonic or sarcastic. You know, somebody will say something, I'll just want to get on and say something that, just be funny, sarcastic. But I found out, because this is my tikkun, right, that I had to go before Hashem and ask him to help me, because it paid no benefits. My sarcasm and cynicism never paid me a single benefit. It only produced negativity in my life. I didn't realize it. Yes, you were going to say something? Oh, absolutely. Right, you can't tell intent with the way things are written. It's very difficult to do that. Do what? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's close. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It made me think about what we talked about at the very beginning of the passage, just the dangers of levity.
Right.
It may look perfectly innocent, but it can lead to
Right.
so much to be watchful.
I think that, you know, we all, listen, everybody needs a good sense of humor, okay? We all need to, like, loosen up and have a good sense of humor. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about borderline on being a fool, because you don't, or say to you, I didn't realize that my foolishness was a cover-up for something other that I didn't want other people to know about me. Period. I started learning that at 14 years old, because I was kind of, you know, I wasn't the popular kid, right? It was a type of protection. Yeah, yeah, it's a defense mechanism. So everybody liked me when I was funny, and I was the clown. And, you know, it has dividends, because people like being around somebody that's happy. But at the same time, it never actually produced anything productive in my life, besides a few people that like to hang around you when they want to be happy. But the problem is, those are not true friends. I mean, they're really not valuable friends. As soon as you're not making them laugh, then you're not useful for them at all. Let me close with this idea. The number 8 shares a connection to the era of redemption. As our sages of blessed memory says, the harp of the era of redemption will be 8 strands, while the harp used in the Beis HaMikdash had 7 strands. The revelations of the era of redemption will also follow the motif described above. Thus, in describing those revelations, our prophets say, and the glory of God will be revealed, and all flesh will see. The glory of God reveals to the spiritual peak above the natural order. The level will be seen, perceived openly by all flesh, mortals within our material world will realize this spiritual truth. The prophet's words will finally ring true when you will not go to your neighbor and ask them if they know Hashem. It's obvious who Hashem is. We won't have atheists there. It'll all be fixed. Moreover, these revelations will be an intrinsic part of that era. Just as today, it is natural for our eyes to see material objects in that era. In that era, all flesh will perceive the glory of God. This involves a remaking of the natural order through our divine service. For, as stated in the Tanya, the revelations of the era of redemption depend on our service during the time of exile. In the same way that creation was revealed and brought about by Hashem's 6 days of creation, and so do we bring about redemption when we involve ourselves methodically on the 6-day work week and the 7th day of rest, and bring the presence of Hashem in our life and sharing it with others. That concludes the class. If there's any questions.